Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is the Motherhood Ship, where we discuss everything motherhood, life, travel, and all that good stuff. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for clicking on this video. And if you're new, please hit the subscribe button before we move on, and watch the video till the end. If you like the video, like it, give it a like, thumbs up, and share it with your friends so that you can get more views. So this is going to be a part 2 of my last vlog, and my last vlog was about the visa process. So I discussed about how I got the visa refusal, and today for the part 2 and the final part of this series is about how I got the visa acceptance after one refusal. So if you haven't watched the previous vlog, then I'd recommend that you start on that part 1 vlog so that you don't get lost, and then you can come and continue on this vlog. So I'm just going to be looking down here because I have some of the documents that I'm going to be referring to that I'll discuss as we go. So I did my visa reapplication for the Canada Study Permit on October 1st, 2023. And so the reason that I had was only one, and it was quite easy to solve within the three or 4 days that I used to make my reapplication documents. So it wasn't a hard one to crack. So on the reapplication on October 1st, I remember, I think it was a Sunday, and I spent quite the entire afternoon just compiling documents again, explaining myself again in the letters, and you know, just packaging it a bit differently so that it can be a bit more clearer. What I like, my immediate thought when I got the refusal was probably it wasn't about the money. It was about how I had packaged the application and how it looked like to the person who reviewed it. So when I did the reapplication, it was like I looked at it with a fresh set of eyes, and then I explained everything like I was explaining, you know, to someone who didn't know the process. So when you're doing the visa application process for the Canada Study Permit, you attach various documents, and that is according to a list that is provided by the immigration, you know, Canada Immigration Department. That is on their website, and I'm going to put a link on the description box. So they tell you if you're applying for a study visa, these are the documents you have. So there are things like the school documents, your letter of admission that the school accepted you and has offered you a letter of admission, your proof of payment of down payment, because that you'll probably have to pay that before you make any visa application. And then there is now personal documents. So you have to show that you have good financials to provide for yourself during your time of study. If you have family, like I did in my application, then you have to show extra financials to show that you have enough to cater for your studies, for your upkeep, your rent, your food, any of this miscellaneous stuff, including flight to and from. So you have to show all that financials. Then you have to show home ties, and home ties are things that make you attached at home. So things like assets like land, like houses, any cars, like any assets that you have, like money market funds, pension can be used as a home tie, just to show that you have every reason to go back to your home country after you're done with your studies. Home ties can also be family. So for example, maybe you're the only child to your parents, or you have siblings. So you have to show your siblings' birth certificates to show your relationship with your siblings, to show your relationship with your parents. Maybe you have some inheritance from your parents. So things like that. It is very important that you show everything because these home ties really, like they have to be really convinced that after studies, you will be going back to your home country. So you show that, and then you also now write some letters. So we have a document that is known as the statement of purpose, and the statement of purpose is just what it is. Like it's a statement showing why you intend to study in Canada. So in the statement of purpose, you introduce yourself. So who are you? What is your background? Is it a continuation of your studies? Why did you pick Canada? Why did you pick the school you picked in Canada? Why not study in your home country? So you're just explaining yourself in the statement of purpose. You're talking about your family background, you're talking about your professional background, you're talking about your education background, all the reasons that you have for coming to study here in Canada. So you indicate that in a letter, and I think mine was almost 4 pages long, because I wrote my background, like my family background, my professional background, my education background, what drove me to do this. You just write it in a letter. Now, when I made the reapplication after the refusal, I added one more letter. And this letter, I just Googled online, like how to make a reapplication. There's a lot of good information on YouTube. I talked to a few people who had gotten refusals before. And so I when I wrote the letter, I wrote it from a point of information. Like I had talked to several people, and then now I decided, like, do I want to attach an extra letter? Is it adding value to my application? And then I decided, that it was adding value to my application. And so I did it. So I'm just looking for that letter. So the letter, the reference of the letter, I said it's an explanation letter for the initial refused study permit, and then my name and my passport number, and this was under the subject. So I put the address of the High Commission of Canada in Nairobi, and then the subject, and then, I addressed them. So I told them I'm going to read it out just so that I can intentionally leave out my personal information. Because if I send a screenshot, then it will take a lot of my personal information that is not necessary for this video. So on the first paragraph, I said I'm delighted for this opportunity to reapply for my study permit. I filed my application on this date, and the final refusal decision was submitted on this date. So in my first application was made on 8th September, and then I did my biometrics after a few days. So, and then after that I got my refusal on 27th September 2023. So I said the reason for the refusal was as below, and then quote, your assets and financial situation are insufficient to support the stated purpose of travel for yourself and any applicable family members, if applicable, then unquote. So that was the first paragraph. The second paragraph, I went ahead to say, I appreciate the time you took to look at my application, and I assure you that I have put enough thought into your decision regarding my application, because I would want to pursue this course in this. So the title of the course, the university I'm pursuing it at, and the start date. So the third paragraph, so I'm therefore writing to address the issue as below. So I put points so that it can just be easier to read. It can look attractive and it can be easier to read. I didn't put just blocks and blocks of paragraphs. I tried to make it easy so that it can be pleasant to the eye of the visa officer who was reviewing. So on my second application, this reapplication, as I said in the other video, for the second application, because the reason they gave me was financial. So for this application, I purely indicated that my husband would be financing my studies. So we showed all his finances. He gave me a letter, an affidavit of support. So he swore an oath that he would provide, for my studies, and this is done at any advocate. I think they do this affidavits, and then we gave his financials. Apart from his financials mean the bank statement and any other thing that he had that indicates like his financial well-being. We added the source of his finances. So this could be businesses, this could be salaries, this could be, you have to show, you don't just show the money. You can't show 10 million in an account and not show where this 10 million is coming from. So you have to show either are you doing business, are you earning a considerable amount of money that makes sense to have the money that you said in your account. Do you have other businesses that you do? Maybe you do tenders. Can you show tender documents? Can you show invoices? Can you show checks that you've been paid? Just show this source of income. So we did that. So number one, I'm therefore writing to address the issue as below. Number one, so I addressed the financials in detail. So I said, in my school requires a down payment of this amount, and I have already paid this in July of 2023. And actually it was my husband who had paid from his personal bank account. So I think it strengthened the case of him being my sponsor, because anyway, it was him who had paid for my down payment. So I told them he paid this from his personal account. And then I had received a school entrance award of a certain amount in August. So I told them I have received this entrance award in August of 2023. Therefore, a total of the down payment and the entrance award is already paid out of my first year's tuition. My first year's tuition, according to the letter of admission, because the letter of admission shows the approximate annual fee. So therefore, my first annual tuition pending is this amount minus what is already paid. So therefore, that is what I was supposed to show in my bank statements. So the annual upkeep is usually indicated by IRCC on the portal. And at the time I was applying, this annual upkeep was 10,000 Canadian dollars for the first, for me, like for the study applicant. Now, if you're to bring family, then you add, I think, 4,000 for the second dependent, 3,000 for the third dependent, and so on and so on. All this information is in their website, which I'm going to link in the description box, because you don't need anybody to define that for you. You don't need an agent to do it for you. It is actually quite simple. So annual upkeep was 10,000. So I told them my annual upkeep of 10,000 and an extra amount of this amount is available for other miscellaneous expenses. So things like stationery. As per the IRCC guidelines, I am required to have a total amount of this Canadian dollars, which is an equivalent of this Kenya shillings. Okay, so I have attached a bank statement of these Canadian dollars, which is an equivalent of these Kenyan shillings. So I've used this in place of the amount, because the amount really varies depending on the school, on your program, depending on the annual upkeep. So right now, since December 2023, the annual upkeep went up to 26,000 and something. You can verify from their website. So the annual upkeep is no longer 10,000 for one person, it's now 26,000. So 26,000 is for 1 year. If your course is 2 years, then you have to show 26,000 times 2, or at least most part of that amount. And then you have to show this first year's tuition. And this is something I usually tell everybody I've talked to, and it has worked because people have been getting their visas. So if you're required to show 20,000, so that's the total of your tuition plus the upkeep, just the exact amount they need. You could always show plus 5,000 extra, just something extra, just to show like your finances are good. So I wrote down those. My first one was that, and then my second point was that my spouse has arranged enough finances, including everything miscellaneous, and I have attached his statements, his affidavit of support, and all other supportive documents. So supportive documents means everything else just to show how he gets the money that is in his account. And I told them I currently have full access to the said bank statement and will continue to even in my study period. So it is very important. If you're using a relative as a sponsor, it is important that you show that you still have full access to the bank account. Otherwise, it will just be showing money that maybe you're not even in access of. So you need to show how you're accessing that money. So the third point and the last one was my husband's income source includes this and this. So I attached all his income sources. I explained how that money came in, if there is any large deposits. So for example, if you have 2 million dumped in the account, when the account rarely gets there even on a good month, it's good to show why you have a sudden high, like 2 million in your account. So it's always recommended, if you want to prepare your account for a study permit, don't dump money in that account because it looks like you're just dumping for show. So it's always good to arrange very well so that it's just a regular bank statement. The second disclaimer I'll give is that do not use fake bank statements, and a lot of people use fake bank statements. Towards the end of last year, there was a frenzy, and there was another frenzy of people who are using agents to make applications for the study visa and other visas, and they were caught. Some people were caught. So they have their ways of verifying the bank statement. So if you're using fake documents, not even the bank statement only, some people are faking education certificates, some people are faking pay slips, and some people have been caught. So don't be caught because of a lie. Just arrange your finances. The application doesn't need to be done in a rush. You can just take your time and then make the application when you're ready, but don't use fake documents. So the conclusion was, I have attached all documents that support my reapplication, and I hope I have provided sufficient details to grant me a study permit. I will use this opportunity for the sole intended purpose of studying, and will be back to my country after the end of the program. I look forward to a positive response from your office. Yours sincerely, my name. So this reapplication, after I did it, I prayed about it and I forgot about it, and I just crossed my fingers that they don't respond to me so soon like the first application. So on November 7th, I remember it was November 7th, that was roughly after a month, it was after 5 weeks, or it was the 6th week, I think, after the reapplication. So that's when I got a correspondence, and the correspondence was about my medicals. So they requested for my medicals. If you have gone through this process of the study permit, you know that if you didn't submit upfront medicals, then a request for your medicals is a show of some positivity. Like, it's almost as if they're saying, up to where we've reviewed your documents, they look good. So go and do your medical, and if it's positive, you will certainly get the study visa. Of course, they don't tell you that, but most of the guys know when you get a medical request for a study permit, then that means you've sailed through, unless you get a problem with your medical. So in the medical, they check for, they do blood test, urine test, TB test. So some of the medical conditions that could prolong your process include, if you have like TB wounds on your lungs, then that would prolong your process, because they need to verify that it's not active TB. They might say that you go for treatment, and they might, before they decide if they can give you your visa. So it prolongs the process. So I went for my medicals on November 27th because I booked immediately, but IOM in Kenya was full. People were really booking the center, and that's the only center where you can get your medicals if you're in Kenya. So that includes everybody going to the USA, everybody going anywhere, all the refugees needing medicals. The day I went, it was actually very full. So I had a 3 weeks wait just to get my medicals done. And after I did that on November 27th, I waited, I think, about a week. And on December 6th, I got my approval. So I got my original passport request on December 6th. I think I took my passport the same day. I was so excited. I didn't know how to express it. I was so excited. I couldn't believe it, you know? And then after that, on December 12th, I think that's roughly after a week, I got my introduction letter. So this introduction letter is what you bring with you to the border. And on the introduction letter, the first sentence, I have it open here. They tell you your application to study in Canada has been initially approved by Immigration Refugee. Your application to study in Canada has been initially approved by IRCC. The final decision, and this is in bold, the final decision to issue a study permit and allow you to enter Canada is made after an examination by an officer in Canada. So at that time, an officer will assess if you still meet the requirements of the Act, and then they will issue you with your study permit. So you actually don't get your study permit from the visa office in your country. You will get it after you cross over to the border here in Canada. So whichever border you come through, maybe the Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary, you know, whichever border you come in through, that's where they'll issue you your study permit. So yeah, that's the end of this vlog. I got my study visa approved within 10 weeks, and that included the 3 weeks delay at the IOM. So it would have been sooner if I could have done my medicals any sooner. I was very excited, obviously, coming from a refusal. You know, this is big, and I'm usually very interested to help. If you need to translate your refusal reasons, if you need to reapply and you need a second eye to your documents, you could always share. I'm happy to chat. One disclaimer I'll give for this vlog is that I'm not an authorized Canadian representative or agent, so I do not make applications for people, and I do not, the advice I give is just personal, based on my experiences and based on the people I've chatted with, their experiences. Some people allow me to share just so that others can kind of learn from it. So that's the information like I can give you to try and enlighten your application. But I'm not an approved agent. I'm not a representative. In no way am I a lawyer. So this video was made because of my experiences. I've read to you my SOPs, and yeah, I'm here. So if you need any help, kindly get through to the email on the description box. Thank you so much for coming to the end of this vlog. I truly appreciate you guys. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Like, share this video, and leave a comment down below.